Greetings and welcome back to the Vantage Point YouTube channel and our usual weekly chat about a Status Quo song. And this week our random number generator has spun its way around to number 114. So I'm obviously relieved there that that can't be anything from the Thirsty Work album or any of the covers. So if we look at my spreadsheet of songs, we can see 114 is back in the 70s, not quite in the golden classic era. It's Like a Good Girl from If You Can't Stand the Heat. It's one of the best covers, I think, especially if you've got the old vinyl gatefold. And obviously, having tried on the previous album to inject a bit of commercial sheen to proceedings in order to crack America by bringing in Pip Williams. Francis says in the booklet for this that Rock and Roll World sold loads, but all our we received so many letters from fans saying shoot the fucking producer, and they obviously didn't. And in fact, I think they obviously didn't go back and listen to I think Blue for You and compare it to Rockin' All Over the World, because I actually think Blue for You sounds much more commercial, and the songs are much more immediate and sound good than Rockin' All Over the World, which seemed a kind of very thin production, very kind of muddy. You don't really pick out there's no great separation between the guitars and the bass and the drums, so it sounds very narrow. So I mean, if I'd listened to those two albums, I would have said Blue for You was the more commercial. But the Quo decided they'd give it another go with Pip for the If You Can't Stand the Heat album, and continue their quest to make loads of dosh in the US. For the most part, I think it's an improved production. Certainly the band, I mean, there's the rather questionable drum sound, but the bass guitars and vocals and stuff all sound a lot better, and it jumps out a lot more energy, and I think it's not as narrow. There's good separation, you can hear the bass thumping through. There was, of course, they did go the next step, and with the questionable usage of putting horns and lots of backing vocals all over some of the songs. But I do think it's a better sounding album. Whether you think the material's better or not is up for conjecture. It definitely as an album, it isn't as good as the aforementioned Blue for You. But another kind of conscious change, I guess, around this time was they're not stretching out musically. There's 10 songs on this, and I think only 2 make it over 4 minutes. And Like a Good Girl is the last song in the album, which was normally kind of reserved for the big musical workouts like Mystery Song, Slow Train, or obviously the epitome of hard rock boogie workout, which would be 4,500 times. But there's none of that on Like a Good Girl, which clocks in at 3 minutes 28 seconds. And one partial reason for that might be that it's quite a fast song. You know, after the intro, when the verse comes in, they're first steaming along. It's I was going to say frenetic, but this is the Quo, so it's maybe quite frantic. Yeah, so they first steam into the song from the off. There's actually the guitars and bass, and are going for it, but there's lots of piano in the rhythm section from Andy Bown, which sound good, definitely not out of place here. The keys can add a lot to rhythms. Keys or piano can add a lot to rhythm section when done properly, when they're not using some questionable sounds. And then move into it's a great chorus. One of the highlights of the chorus is actually the bass, the moving bass part underneath, which is not something I've always associated with Lancaster. But while you are trying to listen to that great bass, it is kind of, you do have those horns going off, which is slightly getting in the way. They're just accenting the music, so they're not providing a lot. There's no counter melody or lifting the song. I mean, they don't desperately detract from it, but they're not enhancing the song in any way. So I don't desperately see the purpose in this. I don't think it'll ever happen, but if there was ever to be a remix of any Quo album, this would be the one, and I would love to hear it without the horns, because this is a quality, Quo boogie song. I kind of think, had it been written and recorded in Blue For You, put in alongside Mad About the Boy or Ring or Change with the Blue For You production, folk would be singing it. Yeah, absolutely great song, great album track. But with the slightly lesser production, if you can't stand the heat, and the fact it's ending the album as opposed to just being one of the album tracks, it means it's probably not shone in as good light as it could be. But I really do like the chorus, and I like the definite end on it, and there's just the brief pause, and then they're off and running again, and steam through another verse and chorus, and then there's a nice build into the musical break. It's not so much a lead guitar solo, just a kind of lead break. Rossi's playing a nice melodic tune, and which all rocks along nicely. And then my absolute favourite bit of the song is when it does the stop again. This time Lancaster introduces the restart with just the one bass note, which just sounds fantastic. I think I've mentioned that in previous videos with I think Bella Vista Man and Point of No Return. I do love just a single bass note play into a song. I did a wee surf on YouTube to see if there's any live renditions of this, because I think it got a short bit of time in the set, and I did find one which I had listened to, but it was of bootleg quality, so it wasn't that great sounding. But Lancaster never did that one bass note after the solo into the rest of the song, which was a little bit disappointing. Then after the third chorus, there's a nice little play out. There's a kind of call and answer guitar part, if you're listening, especially if you're listening on headphones, going from the left to right. But it's maybe over a bit quickly. They do that for a bit, and then into a fade out. There's no definite end of the song. So yeah, if you're comparing it to how the band used to finish their albums, it's found a bit lacking there. But if you take it in isolation as a song, I think it's a great little rocker, and it is a commercial tune, yeah. So I really do like it, and so in my little classification, to rate this in the second top one, it's an excellent Quo song. From an album I do find quite enjoyable. And so, what was that? Episode 42. Like a Good Girl from the If You Can't Stand the Heat album. So hopefully you'll join me again next week for another random Status Quo song review.